Hello, everybody. We are live. It is 6:30 down here in the cold, dark, depressing United Kingdom. My name is Ultratech. I'm currently not in the best of moods right now, so you shall have to excuse me. I'm not my usual happy, cheerful self. But royalty is in the building. Royalty is in the building. When the king calls, you must answer. And the king is here today to come and talk to you about all things going on in the world of British boxing. Here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Riku. How's it been going, Riku?
Good. I've been watching the Matchroom downfall over the last few weeks. And the downfall of British boxing. I think we might have more female champions than we have male champions, which tells you everything you need to know about the current standard of British boxing.
Tells you everything you need to know. And let me just say, shout out to Dino Velvet, who's managed to get himself. That's a world record. Someone's managed to get themselves banned within the first 10 seconds of a show. I've never ever seen somebody post something and get banned before within the first 10 seconds of a show. There you go. It is what it is.
Well, we all about breaking records here, aren't we?
Yeah, we're about that type of night. Let me tell you right now, Riku, anybody else asked me to do a show, I would not do it. Right now, I'm rock bottom at the minute, yeah? But when the king calls, you must answer. Listen, let's start off, if we can, with your thoughts on this weekend's shocks. Riku, I've only seen the knockouts. I haven't even seen the actual fights. But we're going to talk about Matchroom Stable. Let's start off with the weekend's results. Kid Galahad getting wiped out in 6 by Kiko Martinez in a fight which everybody, including myself, thought was a mismatch. And then Terri Harper, who, listen, I'll quickly say this, Riku. I don't know if you can see the screen. I think she's got the best body in women's. I'm not trying to be a simp, but this is my personal opinion. I think the downfall for Terri Harper, this woman had the best body in women's boxing. But what is it with these flipping tattoos? When she started getting it tied up, that was, in my opinion, the beginning of the end for Terri Harper. I mean, Jesus, talk about back to the chip shop. She needs to go back to the tat shop and get these damn things lasered. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. But anyway, Riku, your thoughts on the Galahad and Harper shocks this weekend?
I think the Galahad fight was good on paper. Nobody was excited. Nobody is packing Kiko Martinez, but he does hold his chin up in the air when he goes backwards, and at some point he was going to get caught. But I think it's a real detrimental blow for Galahad, who's been, a solid pro. He's finally got the world title, and he gets knocked out in front of his home crowd. In a homecoming fight, which was meant to be easy. I think it's interesting to see what's going to happen, whether they're going to do an immediate rematch or whether they're going to put Josh Warrington into that position.
Just unmute myself. So carry on, Riku. Carry on.
I was going to say, somebody commented on that bull. That bull is Steffi Bull, isn't it? Steffi Bull's Bullcroft gem tattoo.
What would you rate that tattoo? I can't believe she's turned up. And so if I was
a 2 out of 10.
I can't believe that woman has got that tattoo on her body. At some point, she's going to regret that. What people think if people forget about tattoos is, one day, hopefully, Terri Harper's going to be fucking 60, 70 years old. And she's going to have a tattoo of a fucking bull on her right arm. That is shocking. I will say this quickly. On Galahad, right? I've seen the knockout. Yes, it's true. He does pull out in straight lines with his chin up. Ironically, I actually had a look at the knockout. And the funny thing is, I think he sees both shots, which is actually funny. Both of them. Both the one that floored him at the end of round 5 and the one that finished him in round 6. I think kids saw both of them shots. I think the first knockout shot, it looks like, I could be wrong, but I wonder if he thought the shot was going to be a body shot, because he actually picked up his left hand towards his chin as if it was going to be a hook. And I wonder if he just dropped it at the last minute thinking it was going to be a shot to the body. It comes overhand and it goes over his glove and it wipes him out. So ironically, because I know Darren Barker's running around saying the reason he got knocked out was because he had his chin in the air. I think, and my challenge to anybody listening to this is, go and have a look at the footage of Galahad getting knocked out and see if you think I'm right or wrong. I think both times, actually, he sees both shots. He actually picks his left hand up to block the first right hook, but I think at the last minute, he might have thought it was going to the body, and he pulled his guard down slightly, he got wiped out. The second one is very, very interesting. The second one absolutely obliterated, and he absolutely sees the second shot coming. He knows it's a right hand. He sees it coming. He braces for impact. And if you watch, he makes two, well, he's fucked at that point anyway because he's out on his feet, but makes two big mistakes. He rocks onto his back foot and he puts absolutely all of his weight on his back foot, right? And for anybody who's ever boxed or stayed in the ring, or anybody who's around now, if you just stand up and you put all of your weight onto your back foot, so just transfer as much of your weight onto your back foot as possible, you'll know that you can't roll, you can't move left, and you can't move right. Once all your weight's on your back foot, you're trapped, you're fucked. There's only you basically can't move. You're fucked basically at that point. And you see Galahad, he knows the right hand's coming, he leans back, he puts all his weight on his back foot. He's completely trapped from that point. He can't slip, he can't roll, can't move left, can't move right. Martinez walks in close to the distance and throws it and just obliterates him. Very, very sad knockout. I think, Riku, what Eddie Hearn said is they're going to roll with Kiko for a bit, aren't they? They're going to do a few promotions in Spain. What was it? He said to Boxing Social, quick run out in Spain, Riku. Quick run out in Spain for Kiku.
Yeah, I think, well, they'll probably do that, but I think eventually they'll want to match him with Warrington and then get a big rematch between Warrington and Galahad. And it's interesting when he said that point because Galahad is usually such a sound, fundamental boxer. And the one thing you'd be training against Kiko Martinez is how do you navigate the overhand right, particularly when you're going backwards. And that's what caught him in the end. And I'm not sure. I mean, I'll get your views, but I'm not sure whether Dom Inglishaw sent him out. If you look at the corner footage, he looked like he was gone between the rounds, and that was inevitable.
A lot of people have said that he shouldn't be. I can't, guys. You can get. What do you think about what Riku said? Should Galahad have been let out for round 6 or not? It was a bad knockout. I saw the one at the end of the 5th. It's a bad one. I thought, look, they had to give him the benefit of that because it's a world title on the line. You have to give Galahad the benefit of doubt. But like I said before, I mean, he wasn't right. And in the beginning of that 6th, for me, like I said, you want to be trying to move laterally. I'm not a boxer, but you want to be moving laterally. You want to be trying to move laterally behind the jab. But his legs were gone at that point. His legs were absolutely gone. And for me, he's seen that shot coming all the way, and he couldn't do nothing for it. In fact, the thing about YouTube, Rico, that's so annoying is if I was to show footage of this knockout and explain exactly what I mean,
you'd get
copyright and take it down. But you can actually see, if you look at it just before, 2 interesting points about Galahad is, one, he sees it, and if you look, he wobbles just before he gets knocked out as well. And I don't know if that's because his legs are gone, or I don't know if that's because there's a clash of feet, because the orthodox southpaw, they get the clash of feet because the feet are on the same side. But if you look just before the punch comes, he sees it coming, and then you see him do a wobble just before it connects. So either he wasn't steady on his feet, and when he put all his weight onto his back foot, he was almost out anyway, or there was a clash of feet there. But it was bad. And the bottom line of it is, Galahad's biggest mistake is putting out in lines. Which is funny because when he comes forward and attacks, he attacks and uses angles. He uses angles on the way in, but he doesn't use angles on the way out. And I think that's the only flaw that I've seen in him in some of his recent fights. He pivots around fighters and uses angles when he's on the front foot, and he finds clever angles to find body shots and that with fighters. But when he pulls out in the line. Sorry, you can carry on.
No, I agree, and I think people have said here in the comments, and you mentioned they should have. They should give him a chance because he's a champion, but he didn't respond in the corner. And I think a trainer's first instinct should be to protect their fighter because we all saw what was going to happen when he was going to be sent out. There wasn't going to be a chance that he'd be able to recover. He was glass-eyed. He wasn't responding to anything that Dom said, and he was just sort of an autopilot. So, yes, of course, if there's a chance that the fight is recovered, but you're just sending him there to be knocked out, and I think that in itself is not necessarily what I would have done as a trainer. But again, I haven't been in that position, so really hard to say.
I didn't see this. Mark Sager says, Ingle didn't seem to check how he was, dragged him to the store and pushed him back out. ABB says, no ice in the corner and gum shield not taken out for 30 seconds. Carry on, Miku.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I agree. That's what happened.
But some people are saying, look, Buju says, should have let him out. Mr. Anderson says, Dom knows Galahad, must have thought he was okay. I mean, the thing with Galahad is, I know it sounds dumb, Riku, because I haven't seen what happened in the corner and you have. He's got a reputation as somebody who's in tremendous condition because he virtually lives in the gym and does nothing else but be in the gym. And I just wonder if all the fighters you'd give in the country to come back from that kind of shot. Galahad, knowing how fit he is, they must have seen him in the gym. They know he's got good legs. Maybe they just thought, got to give him the benefit of the doubt. Got to.
But has he ever been heavily dropped? Because that's something which is completely different from fitness, isn't it? Some fighters recover a lot quicker from being, getting a heavy knockdown than others. We know that Joshua, for example, he stays punch, whereas Tyson Fury is pretty good at sort of an autopilot, navigating his way around the ring and, recovering.
Well, talking about good stoppages, the Terri Harper stoppage, I haven't seen the whole fight. I've seen the stoppage. He's been praised, and I have to say, it's one of the best stoppages of the year. Very unusual to see a good stoppage in a British ring these days. These days, it seems to be absolutely. I mean, it's lucky Terri Harper did. Who was that piece of human excrement who threw the towel out when Lewis Ritson's father threw the towel in when Lewis Ritson was taking a beating in that fight? Davey Ritson threw the towel in and said Ritson was done. And this piece of excrement then threw the towel out and let him take a little bit more punishment. Thank the fucking Lord he wasn't in the ring right now, or Terri Harper. We'd be doing a GoFundMe right now for Terri Harper, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I wonder whether that ref will be invited to another Matchroom show after that.
Jesus Christ! I mean, what do you think about that stoppage? Tremendous stoppage.
No, I thought it was an excellent stoppage. I mean, she was out on her feet at that point, so saved her from getting more punishment.
To me, like I said before, you guys know I'm a big fan of Terri Harper for obvious reasons, yeah? But what I would say is, it seems to me like she's been protected for quite a while. Looks like Eddie Hearn did absolutely everything in his power to avoid making Terri Harper and Michaela Mayer. Michaela Mayer has been calling out Terri Harper for about the last 2 years. And I'm not saying Terri Harper's scared of anybody, right? But I'm just saying, yeah? It seems like she was one of the more protected Matchroom champions. And let's be honest, that is saying something. I mean, we're going to get onto Conor Benn in just a sec, talking about protected fighters at Matchroom, yeah? But to me, I have to say, I don't know what people in the comments think. You could give your thoughts. I thought Terri Harper was a very, very protected fighter.
I mean, her best win was probably Eva Wallström, a Finnish fighter that used to reign for a while. But aside from that, she drew against Natasha Jonas, which have arguably lost. I think they built her around this narrative of from the chip shop to the top of the world. And the first time she faced somebody that was credible and tough and hard punching, she got stopped. And I just think it was very bad matchmaking on their side. We all know that Alicia Baumgartner, she hits very hard and, she's a good fighter. And after that long layoff, I wouldn't be putting my fighter into that position. I'd want them to have an easy run out after such a long layoff and an injury rather than getting them in there with a hard punching American.
Do you know, Riku, it's really making me sick on Twitter how many times now I say things, and you probably have that too. Mm-hmm. And then a year and a half later, everyone's jumping on a bandwagon. Do you know what I'm seeing more and more on Twitter? And I've seen it even in IFL TV comments. People are now asking, who is doing the matchmaking for Matchroom because it's fucking terrible. I've seen people in IFL TV comment sections literally asking, but who is doing all the matchmaking for Matchroom and DAZN? Because their matchmaking is absolutely rock bottom. Now, this is something that I've been saying on this channel for about 5 years, yeah, and received abuse and death threats for saying that, yeah. It just seems funny that it's a bit like with DAZN USA, who everybody kind of accepted now that is a busted flush. I'll ask you about that in a second because recently we had John Skipper come out and give the reason why he thinks it failed in America. So DAZN is officially fucked because even John Skipper has left the company and come out and given the reasons to why it didn't work. So DAZN's fucked. But it's so funny how we say these things and then years later it comes to pass. But yeah, the matchmaking is, I don't know who's doing it. I think it's Eddie Hearn himself. But Lord, can you imagine, Riku, if something happened to Eddie Hearn, heaven forbid, the next in line at Matchroom is Frank Smith. Let's make this clear to people who think. Let me tell you about Matchroom. I'll tell you this now, right? DAZN have to buy BT Sport or get rights. I'm telling you guys right here, right now. If they do not get football, they are fucked. These guys don't know what they're doing. They're making me look Nostradamus, yeah? They're making me look like Nostradamus every hour that passes by. All the stuff that I've been saying about Matchroom for the last 5 or 6 years, yeah, is now coming to pass. And I'm saying it now. if Matchroom and DAZN do not get, they do not get Premiership Football or the Champions League on their channel, and Lord forbid if anything happens to Eddie Hearn and Frank Smith ends up. If you're in a situation where you've got Frank Francis and George Warren on one side and you've got fucking Frank Smith and Barry Hearn on the other, then I know who I'm picking. Go on. I know who I'm picking in that situation. If it's a choice between Frank Warren, George Warren, and Francis Warren on one side, and Barry Hearn, who we'll get onto in just a second, Slave Master Bazza, and then you've got flipping the Frank Smith, who spends all this time being dog walked by Chris Eubank Jr.'s sister. I know who I'm picking to run a fucking boxing company between those two. Sorry, Rico, carry on.
No, I completely agree. I mean, Frank Smith, whatever he knows about boxing, you could probably write on the back of a postcard. I've never actually heard him talk about boxing with any credibility. He only talks about shows and events. The matchmaking, I think they changed their matchmaker maybe a year or two ago, Matchroom.
Who was doing it?
I'm not sure who's doing it now. I'll find out for the next episode. But I do know they changed their matchmaker, and I think it's been dreadful since. But people often equate bad matchmaking to home fighters losing. That's not bad matchmaking. The bad matchmaking is that these guys aren't getting, they're not tested until they get tested and then they get beat. So I think that's the problem with my view of the matchmaking. So you're getting a lot of these fighters like Terri Harper, easy matchmaker, and then they get found out.
Riku, you look at it now. Josh Warrington, right? Josh Warrington, signed to Matchroom, told to vacate his title, then given a fight against Lara, got knocked out, then given a rematch against Lara, still didn't get it done due to a cut. They're looking at a possible third fight. Josh Warrington's career right now fucked. Anthony Joshua got fucking battered in his own backyard by fucking cruiserweight. Mikey Garcia got beat by Sandor Martin. How much did they pay Mikey Garcia? They paid Mikey Garcia $1 million plus. This guy got decision clearly by Sandor Martin. That's another $1 million of the DAZN's money down the fucking drain, by the way. Jesus Christ, you'd hate to be fucking whoever's doing the fucking accounting for DAZN USA right now. Jesus Christ. you all want to be the accountant for these motherfuckers. Terri Harper's taking a loss. Kid Galahad get wiped out at home. I mean, they're just dropping like flies down at Matchroom in a minute.
Well, I think it's interesting because the Hearns have always been prudent with their own money, haven't they? When before DAZN came along, they were very prudent with their own money, very safe matchmaking, quite conservative approach. Don't roll the dice, don't win purse bids. Now they have DAZN's backing, and when they have all this money, which isn't their own money, they're just managing to blow it and spend in a way that doesn't seem to benefit boxing. It only benefits the managers and the fighters.
What did you think of Canelo Alvarez? I know I'll just quickly move on to Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant. I thought the fight itself was a very, very good fight. It is what it is. Hold on, let me just read this comment quickly, Riku. Silver Surfer says, I don't get your point. What do you expect every fighter to go on easy fights when you know what the outcome is going to be? What do you think about that one, Riku? I'll throw that at you. I don't get your point. Yeah. What do you expect every fighter to go on to easy fights when you know what the outcome's going to be?
No, I don't think it's that. It's more a case that the fighters aren't being built up, so they don't get the correct fights until they hit the world level. So using Conor Benn as an example,
yeah, let's do that.
He hasn't been in any tough development fights. His fight against Chris Algieri next, who's been a nutritionist for the last few years. I think he's fought once.
The nutritionist
last year. He's a nutritionist, isn't he? Which boxers is he? Danny Jacobs, nutritionist. That's his thing. So even if he beats Algieri, who can't crack an egg, as Eddie Hearn said, he beats him, let's say, in over 12 rounds or stops him. Do we know is Conor Benn any better than he was before? Is this proper matchmaking? I'm not having the excuse that, he doesn't have a long amateur career and he's learning on the job, because why is he then headlining? I mean, I'm not being paid to watch anybody else do their job and learn on the job, so why should we watch boxers do that? The way they're pushing him like a star. If you compare him to where Virgil Ortiz and Jaron Ennis have been throughout the same time period, Conor Benn has sort of stagnated, whereas those guys have hit they on the cusp of sort of the top accolade of the welterweight division.
I think that's very, very well put. And fuck it, let's just use Conor Benn. I don't know if you can see on the screen, Riku. Conor Benn versus Chris Algieri announced. Listen, I just think the whole situation is embarrassing. You know, Conor Benn will fight absolutely anybody. There's no doubt about that. You know, there's no doubt in my mind that if you walked into Matchroom Ecstasy and said, Conor, you're fighting Jaron Dennis next, Conor's not going to say I'm not fighting him. He'll take the fight. Yeah, he'll lose the fight, but he'll take the fight. I don't believe Conor Benn would turn down any fight, like that. But let me tell you this now, right? I think the whole fucking situation is an embarrassment. Eddie Hearn's coming out and saying Conor Benn's working his way up to world level. How the fuck do you work your way up to world level by avoiding the European champion? Have you ever heard of a fucking situation like that? He's working his way up to world level by avoiding the European fucking champion. These two both in the same effing stable. You've got Johnny Nelson talking about fighting Sean Porter. Avenizin and Conor Benn are both in the same stable. How many fights? These two was in the same stable for 2 or 3 fights, and they couldn't fucking make that fight happen. Now all of a sudden you've got Chris Algieri, and I can't be bothered to get my old intro up just yet. But you guys remember Eddie Hearn sat there, right, in a press conference and criticised. And you know, this is how two-faced Eddie Hearn is. Eddie Hearn slagged off Amir Khan for fighting Chris Algieri and said Chris Algieri couldn't take the skin off a rice fucking pudding. That's what he said. He slagged off Amir Khan and then signed Khan, by the way. Signed Khan and still couldn't make Khan versus Brook. Anyway, nevertheless, how many years was that ago? 5, 6, 7 years ago. Now it's the same fucking Chris Algieri, who's been, sprinkling fucking coriander on sweet potato, and doing nutritionist meals for the last fucking Lord knows how long. And they're bringing him out of the kitchen with his fucking chef's hat on and then shoving him into the ring with Conor Benn to try and say Conor Benn beat a former world champion. He's at world level. Meanwhile, the guy, is, basically they refuse to match him with the European champ. Do you know what I just want to say is fucking Tony Sims. Tony Sims. Let me say, I told Tony Sims say that's not Avenizin is not a fight I'm interested in. Tony Sims with a straight face. Avenizin is not a fight I'm interested in. I'm not interested in Avenizin. I don't see any point in us taking that fight, blah, blah, blah. The matchmaking is fucking appalling. And unfortunately for Conor Benn, I'm telling you this right now, Conor Benn is up shit creek because there's too many world-class fighters at welterweight. Period. It's simple. They've been hoping for a while that Errol Spencer's going to start vacating belts and moving up, and he will do that. But when he vacates belts and moves up, guess what? You'll still have a Crawford in that division. You're going to have an Ennis in that division. You're going to have a Virgil Ortiz in that division. There's no escape for Conor Benn. So my advice to them, and these clown matchmakers right now, is start matching him properly because he's not going to be able to escape. You know what they're trying to do? They're trying to hope that one of these big boys vacates the title and they can shove him in for a fucking regular. Or they can shove him in for, they can speak to their best friend Gilberto Mendoza and see if they can, manipulate the rankings and get him in there somewhere. But unfortunately for Conor Benn, it's not going to happen because Ennis, Virgil Ortiz, and there's a bunch of our bad boys in there like Crawford who are intending on staying at welterweight for a long time. And if he wants a belt, he's going to have to go through them. So they better start matching him quick because you don't want to shove him in with one of these boys because the outcome's going to be terrible. Sorry, Rico, I know it's your show and I'm yapping on, but this is what the pressure is for, man.
These are all very good points. I'm just checking whether Algieri is even ranked anyway. If there's any intention to make, if this fight even makes sense in any way.
Let me have a look at this. MS22 says matching him against Avenizin would also be bad matchmaking at this point, don't you think? Yeah, it would be because he's not ready. But if he's not ready,
Josh Kelly was in the same stable. Josh Kelly lost to Avenizin. Surely that should have been the match to make at that point.
Josh Kelly
against Josh Kelly, you see where he's at. If he can beat Josh Kelly,
that would have been the perfect
then
fight.
you see where he's at, rather than saying that fight against Chris Algieri, who's a very poor man's version of Josh Kelly at this stage of his career.
That would have been a perfect fight to make. But see, the thing is, if I'm Josh Kelly, looking at how they treat me, versus how they treat Conor Benn, there is no way I'd ever do business with Eddie Hearn again. Josh Kelly was sent in the ring with David Avenizin after a year and a half off. Fucking Josh Kelly had like 2 or 3 fights, in like 2 or 3 years. Like he'd had a ridiculous. He was sent in after like a year and a half. There was a big layoff due to COVID. They had like 18 months out. He was shoved in a fucking ring with Avenizin. They didn't give it. And do you know what? I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Josh Kelly has a higher ceiling than fucking Conor Benn, in my opinion.
100%.
100%. Josh Kelly has a much higher ceiling than Conor Benn. Because the one thing about Josh Kelly that will see Josh Kelly get through at the end of the day is, right, Josh Kelly, right, is semi-elusive. You see with Conor Benn is not elusive at all in fights, but that will come back. And like I said before, all that shit he's doing, and like I said, all that stuff he's doing against Adrian Granados, trust me, when you've got a Boots Ennis, when you've got a Crawford, when you've got those guys throwing punches back at you, it's not going to last long. But let me say, if I was Josh Kelly, I thought it was a disgrace. But my point is to get him back to the Avanesian point. Matching him against Avanesian would be bad matchmaking. But if it's bad matchmaking, then don't tell everybody he's world level, or don't tell everybody he's on the verge of world level. That's my point. Be honest with the fans and just say, look, Conor Benn's still quote-unquote learning on the job. He's still learning on the job. He's not at world level yet. He's not ready for that. But we're going to build him up and we're going to get him there. Don't fucking come out here and insult my intelligence, yeah? And tell me shit like he's the next global superstar in boxing and he's nearly ready to fight Sean Porter and he's 3 or 4 fights away from a world title. When you don't even want to fucking match him with the European champion. Sorry, Riku, carry on. That's my point, isn't it, Riku? They say he's 3 or 4 fights away from a world title. But he can't fight the European champion. Well, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, every boxer in this country is 2 or 3 fights away from the world champion. I mean, do you remember when Dave Allen was two fights away from Anthony Joshua?
By the way, they're winning his ass back out as well, by the way. Talk about that in a bit. You see him at the Matchroom event, cozying up to Eddie Hearn. They'd be winning his corpse out. Yeah, they'd be winning his corpse out, yeah, to fight Alan Babbage. And when that fight happens, by the way, Dave Allen and Alan Babbage, don't worry, I've got to be careful, the name drop there. But let me tell you, I want to get on to Queensbury. As soon as they make Dave Allen versus Alan Babbage, I'm going to be straight on the phone to Queensbury Promotions. I'm going to get that price. How much money was Dave Allen offered to fight Daniel Dubois? I know it was 6 figures. And then I want to compare it to the purse he's going to be getting against Alan Babbage. But sorry, Riku, carry on.
No, that's correct. And I mean, with somebody like Alan Babbage, like we've been pushed these fighters like Alan Babbage, Florian Marku, these guys that aren't going to make it world level. Yep. Talented fighters are moving to boxer. Lots of good fighters there. Queensbury's full of talented fighters. They roster, but people are just being conned to believe that some of these guys on Matchroom stable, which is very thin at the moment, are the next big things.
Well, we're going to look at this stable right now, Riku. So I'm going to let you take over while I go and make a cup of tea, right? But that's why I get angry. People always misassume. They think, oh, I hate Conor Benn. I don't think Conor Benn's ducking anybody. Conor Benn has got bigger bollocks than I would ever have. He goes into the ring, he risks his life. He would batter me in a fight. I've got nothing but respect for Conor Benn. I actually don't mind Conor Benn, right? My point is, what do you want me to do when you've got the promoter coming in and telling me Conor Benn's 2 or 3 fights away from world level? That's what he did. He signed a 3 or 4 fight contract with Matchroom and DAZN. That's what Conor Benn's done. He signed a 3 or 4 fight contract with Matchroom, and the last fight is supposed to be for a world title. That's what's supposed to happen. He signed a 3 or 4 fight agreement, right? And the whole point of it is pushing him into fighting for a world title. Well, I'm telling you right now, he's not ready. And anybody who thinks after seeing his performance against Adrian Granados, who thinks he's ready, is smoking crack. So what do you want me to do? Do you want me to be a company man and come on there and fucking tell you guys fucking stories? What do you want me to do? Jack Anori? Is it Riku? Jack Anori.
Yeah, Jack Anori.
What do you want me to do? Come on here like it's CB. This ain't the fucking CBBS channel, like these other YouTube channels that are going to come on and say, oh, maybe Conor Benn's got a chance. What the fuck? What's going on here? Right, Riku, this is
people don't watch boxing. That's why. If you watch Boots Ennis or you watch Virgil Ortiz and compare them to Conor Benn, it's like night and day.
What do you want me to? I don't know what these people want me to say, Riku. What do you want me to say? Yeah, he's got a chance and play it 50-50. Fuck off. Hold on a minute. Let me go on some comments, Riku, quickly. Benn is not a superstar just because Eddie says he is. He'll get beat up and stopped long before any of that is possible. He's another Ritson waiting to happen. Thoughts on that, Riku?
That's pretty accurate.
Lewis Lee says they want to bypass Southern area British European levels, shouting for world title fights though, and haven't earned it. Any thoughts on that?
Well, that's the way these days because they didn't want to match him in Southern area just because or British because they're worried that he'd get beat after that fight against the French guy in your call. They're worried that he'd get beat by somebody his level, and now they're getting him soft punching opponents they can tee off and use his speed and combination punching to take out. And if you can't do that, then it's just a bit of pity-patty for 12 rounds, and then they can say that he's learning on the job.
Let's have a look at this match from stable.
Whyte Canelo there. Whyte Canelo there.
Why is anybody on here? Hold on a minute.
Why is Devin Haney there?
Devin Haney. See, I need to speak to the web administrator for matchroomboxing.com. We need to have a little chat about with this web administrator. I don't know who the fuck runs his website, yeah? When Matchroom sign a boxer, they put the boxers up real quick. When Matchroom lose a boxer, the boxers never get fucking taken down. Somebody made a joke the other day. It said Tyson might as well be on this fucking list of Matchroom boxers.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, Canelo, he's got no links to Matchroom at the moment. Nor a single link. Eddie promoted a couple of his fights. His last fight was on PBC. He's managed by himself and his own team. He's got his own promotional company. Matchroom weren't even on the posters for the last fight. So I'm not sure what point there is of having him. Barry Hearn as well saying they are the family's fighters. They're Matchroom.
Well, hold on, here we go. Well, we got all fucking red face. So anybody missed it? It's the return of Bazza the Slave Master is now returned after a long layoff. Do you know what I mean? Bazza the Slave Master. This is my man Taz. Taz has been listening to this channel for about fucking 7 years. He's like one of the original. Taz. He's like one of the original subscribers. Like we had like fucking 100 subs. Like, you know. Taz basically said to Barry Hearn about Canelo, he isn't signed to Matchroom. He's not your fighter. Fed up of the Hearn spouting lies because Barry Hearn said we look after our fighters, and he was referring to Canelo. Check this out. This is Barry Hearn's explanation of why Canelo Alvarez is a Matchroom fighter. Right? This is hilarious. Right? Barry said you wouldn't understand, mate, and Taz said I'm all ears, Bazza. Right? Bazza says this is brilliant. Right? Oh, let me scroll this up. And he didn't send me the whole tweet, but for 40 years, Riku, he never had a contract with Steve Davis, the snooker player, right? So Barry Hearn basically said he was in a situation where he was representing Steve Davis, the snooker player, for 40 fucking years, but he never had a cast iron contract with him. But Steve Davis was still a fucking match and snooker player. So according to Barry Hearn, yeah, right, his contract situation with fucking Steve Davis 20 fucking years ago, right, is the same, right, as Matchroom's current situation with Canelo Alvarez. Why has this man got a public Twitter account?
I have no idea.
Ricky, who the fuck would do that? We're talking about
that doesn't work.
Alvarez, he starts talking about fucking Steve Davis.
Also, as a company, it's all good sign of your company governance if you promoted the fact that you don't have contracts with your assets, yet you have a handshake deal, especially in a murky sport like boxing. Come on.
It's fucking bizarre that he would bring up a fucking deal he had with Steve Davis 20 years ago.
But on the other hand, they always promoting about these contracts about Joshua and how he's signed for life and this and that. I mean, it can't work both ways.
It's just this man is absolutely, he's a walking disaster, Barry, isn't he? But he's good entertainment, no question. But yeah, Crazy D3. When I saw that comment, I couldn't figure that out. You know, I should have got on to Barry about that. I don't know if I'd have got a reply and go, Barry, how the fuck do you compare Steve Davis to Canelo Alvarez? You know, but it is what it is. Steve Davis. Let's have a look. Chevron says, did Steve Davis go and have snooker matches on rival broadcasting networks during this 20 years? Well, I think their snooker situation is a bit different, but go on, Riku.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about snooker, but from my understanding, they had pretty much a monopoly, didn't they?
Exactly, yeah.
So it's like saying in the UFC, we don't have to have contracts with fighters if they want to fight on the UFC. They fight on the UFC. I mean, they can go somewhere else, but we pay the best money and we run, the best business.
So Devin Haney shouldn't be on this list.
No.
Canelo shouldn't be on this list. What about Golovkin?
No, because he's got his own promotional company. He's signed with DAZN, which has been a disaster of a deal for all parties involved. When's the last time Triple G fought? And why is everybody now pushing Triple G against Canelo just that they can get another fight on DAZN?
They're desperate. You know, they fucked up, Riku. When they signed Golovkin, gave him all that fucking promised money, right? They did it thinking, you were going to get Canelo and Triple G, and they didn't. And Triple G wants to cash out. All he cares about is money. They had to force him to fight Murata. They had to basically rework the terms of his deal with DAZN, basically, so that he could fight Murata, because they gave him all this money, but they gave him the choice of opponents, if that made sense. They had no control over. Yeah, they had no control over who he couldn't fight. They had no control. So GGG was sitting there on a wad of money, and he's saying, look, I'm taking easy fights. I'm not fighting this and that. You owe me the fucking money. And recently, they just worked it out. So there's that. Fucking embarrassing. Let's have a look at some of these other guys.
Another example of DAZN's business acumen was that deal with Oscar and Canelo, where some
Yeah,
of the approved opponents
yeah.
included Oscar De La Hoya himself and some other gimmick fighters.
Look, they've got Jamie Mitchell on here. I didn't know she was a matchroom fighter.
Well,
Fair
she
play.
is now.
Well, she is now, yeah. Let's have a look at someone like, yeah, but what do you think about the stable in general? I mean, they've taken some pretty heavy losses. I mean, Usyk, yeah, they're co-promoting Alexander Usyk. They managed to rope him in that in order to get him the Anthony-Joshua fight. But, no, I don't know, Riku. I don't know what we can say that we haven't said before. I mean, stable looking thinner than my hairline, which is basically...
Yeah, it's not great, and given all the $1 billion deal that they had, and yet they couldn't sign any decent fighters, and all the young fighters they had, Amo Williams and all these other guys,
Jesus.
they just tossed them out with the water. Anthony Sims Jr. They have the same guys they've had for years, with a few US additions that are there to cash things out.
Since they stole half of, which is fine, right? But since they took half, if you look at all the majority of their stars, other than Anthony Joshua, yeah, they are basically fighters that were taken from Frank Warren, right? Now, I've yet to see, right, in about 10 years of watching Matchroom boxing, I've yet to see them, yeah, build up, other than Anthony Joshua, any significant stars that were not taken from Frank Warren or that didn't get this. Because all Brooke, Bellew, Crawler, all of these dudes that they took, all got their start. They've all got their start with Frank Warren, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm looking to see from Eddie Hearn now is, yeah, right, now you've got no more guys to steal from Frank, although they'll steal a few, right? Can we build our own? I mean, look, just you know, Campbell Hatton, absolutely going nowhere. We know about him. Go on, Mika. We'll move on to another talking point. But just any other thoughts on that stable?
I think a lot of their signings are effectively Dillian Whyte guys, 258 guys.
Dillian Whyte's not even signed with Matchroom, and that's
well,
something. He's not even a Matchroom fighter, is he? Although we know he is, obviously.
Well, he is and he isn't, right? I mean, but he's got his own deal, doesn't he, with DAZN?
Right.
Dillian Whyte does smart business. He's done really well for his career. I don't knock him at all. I think he's done. He obviously hasn't fought for a world title yet, but he's done really well for himself. So you've got to credit him for that. That's how you should manage your boxing career, like he's done.
Really? I mean, I would have thought if I was Dillian Whyte, and I could be wrong, he knows the figures better than me, right? But I would have thought if I was Dillian Whyte, the smart thing to do is rather than tie yourself to Eddie Hearn, right? Rather than tie yourself to Eddie Hearn. Don't forget, Riku, a couple of weeks ago, we've had one of the only times I've ever seen, and I think this, Riku, this tells you how bad British boxing is getting, right? Right, because for a while I've been saying British boxing is on the down. That's what I've been saying. I could be wrong with that. Some people disagree. Mickey Elliott disagrees. Mickey Elliott thinks British boxing's in a great place, and he knows far more about the sport than me. I think, and I've said before, I think we're starting to witness a big decline in British boxing. And I want to say the fact that we're having press conferences, Matchroom are holding press conferences with fighters that they haven't even signed to announce that Dillian Whyte could be the mandatory for Tyson Fury. For me, that is a big symbol now. When we're holding press conferences to announce that fighter A may be a mandatory for a possible world title fight down the line. To me, we're on a very, very slippery slope. And if I was Dillian Whyte, I'd be talking to PBC, I'd be talking to Top Rank, and I'd be looking to see what's a deal here that we can get done to stop this going to purse bid. What's the most lucrative deal that you can give me to stop this fight going to purse bid? But he's not doing that. You know, he's got Eddie Hearn pulling his strings at the fucking press conference, talking, you know, about two fighters that he's not really officially involved with. Go on, give me a thought on that, Riku.
I think the press conferences are there to as much to con the fans as they are to con the broadcasters, to show that they've got an upper hand and this is in the works, because they need to keep things going. For their DAZN money to come in, they need to keep things going, essentially, to get people believing that they are still top of the game. I mean, somebody at DAZN must be looking at this and saying, we spent a lot of money, we haven't had many quality fights, Canelo's fighting on a PBC card. They must be thinking, have we backed the wrong horse here? Have we picked the wrong guy to run our business globally?
And by the way,
I don't think the subscriber numbers are there for DAZN. I mean, that's my hunch, is they spend a lot of money advertising and getting people on board. Lost a lot of customers when they upped the price, and you know, what have they got to do to attract those customers back? I don't think Kid Galahad fight against Kiko Martinez is going to do that.
No, Not at all. And just to say, Canelo versus Caleb Plant did around 800,000 pay-per-view buys, and it broke even. I mean, I don't really care about this kind of thing, but a lot of people on the internet were hoping and wishing that they were going to lose money on that fight, because I think 500,000 buys was the break-even point. So a lot of people hoping and wishing that Al Heyman was going to lose a ton of money on that, and Canelo was going to end up back on DAZN. Well, pay-per-view's dead, right? But Canelo just done 800,000 versus Caleb Plant and got 40 million guarantee. According to Steven Espinoza and Leonard Edeby, Canelo made more money on that Caleb Plant fight than he's made for any fight in his entire career. That's what they're saying. So
well, look at Wilder Fury. I mean, the pay-per-view's there, and in general, they know what they're doing. I mean, Steven Espinoza knows what he's doing. I can't say Eddie Hearn knows the same thing, particularly in the US market. He might know the UK, how that works. But if you remove Joshua from the equation, I just don't think the numbers are there, and Eddie Hearn isn't that good of a salesman. We live in a bubble here. We're boxing fans. We on boxing Twitter. But if you remove AJ and the odd wife fights in general, who cares about any of these shows? I mean, can they even break 100 or 200,000 buys? Sometimes, but not always. And we're only charging 20 to 25 quid for our pay-per-views. In the US, they'll be charging $80 or more for these pay-per-views. You know, we're talking about 800,000 buys. If we use that as a number, that's $80 each. That's a lot more than anybody in the UK can do. If we're looking at the dollar amount that comes back as revenue from that.
Let me just a little bit of breaking news, Riku. Sorry about the show today. Sorry, I'm reading some different things. I've gone all over the place today. But let me ask you about this very quickly. I don't know if you can see on the screen there, but Eddie Reynoso is in talks with Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua to be Anthony Joshua's next trainer. I could be completely full of shit here, right? But the first thing I've thought of is this. I wonder if it benefits Eddie Hearn to shoehorn Eddie Reynoso in, or somehow persuade Anthony Joshua, or do what he can to get Eddie Reynoso taken in as the trainer of Anthony Joshua, because we know Eddie Hearn has got business dealings with Eddie Reynoso. Eddie Hearn and Eddie Reynoso got a little business venture whereby Matchroom are doing shows in Mexico and they're showcasing certain young Mexican prospects, right? And those fights are being shown on DAZN, yeah? So it's very, very funny to me that this news comes out about Eddie Reynoso has had talks about Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn, because if you're Eddie Hearn and you want to get Canelo back on Matchroom DAZN, right? One way to help do that is to do business, or to do as much business with his trainer manager as he can. And we already know he's got Reynoso. And I criticised, and going into the Billy Joe Saunders fight, I called that a conflict of interest, because I said, hold on a minute here. You know, you're Billy Joe Saunders, right? Your promoter has already got promotional agreements with the trainer and manager of your opponent, right? So what's the impetus for Eddie Hearn to go back for you? RE the ring, RE the gate money. There's no impetus for Eddie Hearn to do anything for you, because he's already got business dealings, right, with Eddie Reynoso, right, and Matchroom and DAZN. But I thought, if you're Eddie Hearn, or maybe I'm wrong, tell me if I'm wrong about this, Riku, but I wonder if you're Eddie Hearn, getting Eddie Reynoso the Anthony Joshua training job and saying, look, Eddie, if I can fit you in here, if I can somehow persuade AJ to be your trainer, if I can somehow do this, would that then increase the chances of Canelo then ending up on Matchroom and DAZN? Do you think there's anything in that, or BS?
I think Canelo's his own man, and he'll take the best fights. And given his current position, he can choose to go from one platform to another. I don't think he'll probably judge the fights on each of their merits. I also don't see why Eddie Hearn would be involved in those conversations. Anthony Joshua was over there meeting with Reynoso and other trainers a few weeks ago. So, I mean, Anthony Joshua and his team will have a direct line to Eddie Reynoso. They don't need Eddie Hearn to broker any conversations on that.
Well, it looks like Eddie Hearn.
And also, Eddie would want to be removed from that to an extent, because he will want Rob McCracken with his GB hat on to continue giving them access to the best talent that this country produces on an amateur level.
That's a very,
so
very...
Eddie doesn't want to be seen to be taking Rob's prize assets, and probably the guy that makes him a lot more money than his GB role does, to be taking him away, you know. So I think Eddie's Eddie's probably like, he might have conversations behind the scene, but I don't think he'll necessarily want to be front and center of those conversations. I don't think Joshua would either want him to be front and center of those conversations either, because isn't it odd? Have you heard any other promoters talk about moving trainers and, publicly being involved in those discussions?
The whole situation, the whole AJ thing. I don't know if he's spoken to you since Anthony Joshua did his interview with Conor Benn. He did that hour-long special. I watched about 45 minutes ago. Anthony Joshua came out and was saying things like, he basically, in my opinion, threw his whole team under the bus. He said things like, I'm a product of my environment. I only do what my team can tell me to do. When he was asked if the game plan was wrong, he said, that's down to my team. When he was asked, yeah, but don't you sign off on the game plan because you're the fighter? He said, you'd have to ask the team. He then turned around and started quoting rap lyrics and saying he's got murder on his mind now. He's finished learning. He said, I'm done learning. I'm done with the sweet science. I've got murder on my mind. And then he finished off by talking about fucking gangsters in Chicago. He said, I don't look up to, the people who you think I look up to. I look up to, the gangsters like the Nicky Barneses, the Big Meaches. And I just thought that was a fucking embarrassment of an interview from top to fucking bottom, And I don't know if you heard that, but let me just quickly say, he also seemed to distance himself from Eddie Hearn in that interview in terms of saying that.
That's why I thought as well. Yeah, he said Eddie doesn't do. He says Eddie doesn't do my talking for me. But I don't know what the interview was about. I don't really understand what he wanted to get across in that interview. Did he want to get across that he still cares about the fans and he's a man of the people, or what was the, what did he really want to get across in that interview? What did he want people? What was your opinion? Like, what does he want people after watching the interview? What do they want him to think? I'm still Anthony from the block, like Jenny from the block.
Yeah, that's Mickey. You nailed it on the head. That's what it was, wasn't it? That's it. He was still. I'm still Anthony from the block. Yeah. It doesn't matter how many dollars that I got. I'm still Tony from the block. Used to have a little, then I had a lot.
But now I know where I came from. The block.
Tony from the block, innit? That's what we call him now. That's a good one, Riku. Hashtag that one. Tony from the block. Because it was, isn't he? Like, he was trying to say that he's Tony from the block. Like, to me, like, I'll be honest with you, yeah. There's another YouTube channel that I've got a lot of respect for, the person who runs this channel, and somebody basically sent me a link to it, or I watched 5 minutes of it, and they said, "Oh yeah, I thought AJ came across fine," and I was thinking, are these guys fucking smoking? Like, AJ came across like an absolute moron. Like, he spent the first fucking 10 minutes of the interview talking about how, he's still accessible, that's why we're doing this interview, like, on the road, like, like, we're not doing, like, on a PR thing, like, I'm back in, like, Watford, like, and we're doing it, like, like, what is this guy talking about? The references to gangsters, saying he's got murder on his mind, can you imagine Deontay Wilder?
But also, when you leave that type of environment, not to say that Watford is necessarily a very tough environment, but when you leave that kind of environment, surely you want to stay away from that environment. You don't want to be back in there. You don't need to prove to anybody that if you're actually a hard guy, like, do you think Dillian Whyte needs to prove to anybody he's a hard guy?
No. Dillian Whyte's just standard.
Dillian Whyte's just, he doesn't have to prove it. I just thought it was a bit like,
hey, Riku, just let me say, big shout out to Dean Whyte, who ran his first boxing promotion out in Tolworth. Let's say I couldn't be there, but I have it on very good authority that he was serving jerk chicken, rice and peas.
Oh, nice. And they had a punching machine as well with Chris Congo there.
Well, let me tell you this right now. Any man who serves jerk chicken, rice and peas, at any event gets my respect, So Dean Whyte, I'd like to say, big shout out to, I don't know what he's calling his promotions. Is it Black Box Promotions?
Yeah, Black Box Promotions.
Yeah, shout out to Black Box Promotions, man. What are you talking about? This man serving fucking rice and peas and jerk chicken. I'm serious. I'm about that. I'm about that business, because like I said before, I can't cook Caribbean food, Riku. So anyone who wants to cook it for me, I'm a definite. I'm going for that every time. So if someone's got Dean Whyte's number, if Dean Whyte can get me some curry goat and plantain to go with that,
curry goat's the one. Yeah, a few dumplings, a little plantain.
Oh yeah. Give me some curry goat, Dean. I'll even let you beat me up afterwards. It's just serve me some curry goat. But yeah, Riku, your final thoughts on that AJ thing. On the I heard somebody who I respect said he thought AJ looked okay, and I think he looked like an absolute moron. That's just
I think he went in there to try and talk, and then he sort of went off. When you go into an interview, you don't really know what you're going to say, right? He just thought, I'll go there, I'll just be real and I'll just talk my opinions. And I don't think it was well thought out what he was going to say. And yeah, this is what happens when you let AJ talk on his own will, when he's not there, sort of with his handlers around him.
All right, ask Riku your questions. Riku, will we see Tony Bellew back safe to his wife and kids again? Before you answer that, Riku, let me just see if I can get this up. Or I'm getting up on the screen.
Yeah. I mean, depends if he's near Liverpool Hospital. I mean, in all honesty, obviously that's a tragic event and it's sad. But yeah, I just never understand. Bellew sort of tries to appeal to like the far right with some of these.
Well, like me, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's the far right, yeah. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, but these comments where it's about clickbait, isn't it? Let's say we execute everyone, and that's what we should do, knowing full well that that's not the law of this country, knowing full well that that's not his area of expertise. How you handle
that's the problem. Do you know what, Enrique? Let me just say, I think, look, I actually agree with a lot of what Bellew's saying. I mean, look, at the end of the day, people are trying to make it about racism, like Hasnane's trying to make it about racism. Ultra, you see, Hasnane's not going to get the answer he wants to hear here, but let's hear it. Ultra, I need you to bring this up. Tony Bellew talking about the 3 men arrested in Liverpool, saying why are they allowed to reside here? Well, I don't know. He said
they might be British citizens, Tony. Wow. That's why they might be British citizens. Also, surely we have capabilities in counterterrorism and everything else that we should be monitoring this, because this doesn't happen at the same frequencies it happens in the United States, which is a lot more hostile as an environment and more targeted as threats. So these things happen, unfortunately, in the world. Yeah, and it's a real shame, but I don't think anything will be solved by executing people, as Tony says.
And that's what I will say about Bellew. I actually agree with the general sentiment about Bellew. Hold on, let me see what he said. He's saying he said that before their profile was revealed. What is he suggesting? But if he said that before their profile was revealed, then how would he know if they were black or white to be racist? That's what I don't understand. So explain that to me. If he didn't know their profile was revealed, then how is he being racist? But all I'll say is this, right? All I'll say is this. I'm not going to get involved in this, actually, because it is what it is. But all I'll say is this. This fucking BS that we're going through at the minute of terrorist attacks happening, yeah? Mm-hmm. And then fucking lighting candles and singing hymns. You know what will be in 2 days? Don't look back in anger now. That's what it will be. Fucking get the Noel Gallagher, get the Liam Gallagher out. We don't look back in anger. And all these fucking emergency Cobra meetings. All I'll say is that is not how you deal with terrorists. And that's all I'll say about that. Guys, these guys, whoever these people are, let me tell you, they don't give a shit about people lighting candles. They don't give a fuck about seeing go look back in anger. And they don't give a shit about fucking Cobra meetings. These are serious individuals. These are serious individuals. And some of them, in some cases, have very, very serious training, believe it or not. So that's not how you deal with these people. So I'm not talking about which race. I'm not talking about racism. I'm not saying people should be executed. For me, when Tony Bellew starts jumping on these things and saying we need to eradicate these people, that's where I disagree. Because for me, Tony Bellew, like, that's not, he can have his opinion, but for me, like I said before, Tony has a bad habit of jumping on these things without knowing what the fucking facts are. And Tony has a bad habit of being a fucking hypocrite. Because if that was his best mate, right, who was in the fucking cab trying to blow people up, it wouldn't surprise me if Tony then turned around and started cracking excuses. Because I'll tell you, every time one of his fucking mates fails a drugs test, he's got all kinds of fucking excuses. Come on, carry on,
but I also would say comments like that just create anger towards the entire community, and that's what causes people to segregate against Muslim people, or maybe men that have long beards that look more like traditional Muslims. I don't think you're not solving anything by saying comments like that. The only thing you're doing is trying to get people to like your comments and people to agree. But if you want to solve something in relation to this, do some reading, understand the issue. I'm not going to go into details about the issues there, but anyways, understand the issue, understand what the cause is, and try and, whatever they did it's completely wrong and it should be condoned. But coming out with statements like that is just, it's a bit naive. It's a very hypocritical. It's a very simplistic view on a very complex issue.
Sorry, I'm just going to go grab a cup of tea. If when I come back for boiling the kettle, all right, I don't want to see this man Ash L ever again on my channel. That'd be great. Thank you. No disrespect, Hashel. I'm sure you're a really, really nice guy and everything. Genuinely, there are like other channels for you. Yeah. I was going to recommend a few actually, but well, there's a good channel, Last Name Icons. Go and give that a great watch. He's good friends with Dillian Whyte. That channel will suit you down to the fucking ground. Vanguards of Manhood's trying to drag this conversation into an area which I don't want to go on to, so we won't be doing that. And also saying, let's face it, diversity isn't working, is it? Like you're going to get two fucking coloured people to agree to that? I don't know, but I know that's not what he means. I'm being a bit naughty there, but you know what I'm saying here, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, let's not make broad statements, and let's not try and let's not simplify very complex issues. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's it. Well, maybe we need to get Tony Belly with some of these Cobra meetings, since he's got all the since he's got fucking answers, isn't he? Innit? Well, he's got all the fucking
Boris would need a translator if Belly was speaking.
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, right. Billy Nelson. Richard from Twitter is not here. So Richard from Twitter, I don't know how to clip these shows, right? I don't know how to clip these shows, but listen, Billy Nelson, I want to say this quickly, right? I'm calling you out again, Billy, right? Calling you out. I want someone to clip this and send it to you, right? Now, a couple of years ago, Billy, you told me that you make more money from betting in boxing than I make from my job in a year. That's what you told me, King Billy. Well, this week, yeah, we've done a little check. So Billy claims he's making all this money on betting, yeah? So what I've done, Riku, from now on, yeah, is I'm going to track all of Billy's bets, right? Because what Billy does is he has a bet every Friday, Saturday on the boxing. He loses, and then he comes and has a wine on a Sunday, right? So come on, Billy. Let's sort this out right now, Bill. Right? These are Billy's bets from this weekend. Right? He's told me. There you go. He bet Terri Harper on points, right? And he bet Kid Galahad on points. So far,
£1 return on £100 or something. I mean, how are you going to make that much money?
So far, Billy, right? I'm tracking the score now. For every week we're going to do this, Billy. Right? So far from this week, it's bookies 2, the King 0. So I want to make that clear.
Excel. You should do an Excel every week. Think about him having £100 bet every week, and then you do the odds. Then you do the odds retrospectively on what he gets back.
That King Ballet now, and you know what? I guys, I love Billy Nelson's bits. I also asked Billy. I said, Billy, what's going on with the AJ job? Are you taking it or are you turning it down? And he told me he was turning it down. That's what he told me. He told me he's turning it down. So Billy Nelson, if you're watching, you won't come on the show. But I tell you what, I'm going to track your bets. Every week I'm going to ask you what your bets are. And we're going to finally get to the bottom of this. Who's really winning all this money, right? Is Billy winning or the bookies winning, all right? That's it. New weekly segment, Betting with the King. Trust me. That's what I'm telling you. That's what it's called. It's going to be called Betting with the King. Every week we're going to be tracking Billy's bets. So far, he's 2-0 down. But can he come back, in the next couple of weeks? We've got some big fights coming up.
He'd have to bet the home fighter for the next 10 years to gain money back.
Well, he's making all this money, so I want to know where he's making it. Maybe he's making it on Bacole. Actually, I wanted to get him on the show, but he won't come on. I wanted to ask Billy as well how he went from Tony Yoka to Nathan Gorman. But anyway, I like Billy. I don't want to pile on him because I really like him, but he won't come on this show because he wants to do them little wee soft interviews with his mate Andy McCart. He wants to do them soft interviews with Andrew McCart, who I like, and I like Andy McCart. But Billy, listen, the people want to see you on this channel. Let's get it on.
Billy never sits straight up in the interview. He's always leaning like this, isn't he? He's like on the sofa, just leaning like this. He's never straight up.
Let's get it on. Right, Rico, is there anything else that you...
let's cover for 10-15 minutes the boxer show this weekend. I'll be there at Wembley.
Where can I get the card for that? Where can I get the card? I'll look it up. Go on, carry on, Rico. Who's there? Who's on the card?
So we've got Richard Riakpo against Duradola. That's sort of a stepping up fight for him on paper. I think he should win quite easily, but good to have him back. Got Michael Lawal against Stephen Ward. Sort of a good British fight as such. I think. And then the main events, which I think is a great fight. We've got Jose Burton against Dan Aziz. I think that's a very good fight. And we also have Florian Marco in the card. But yeah, Dan Aziz against Jose Burton will be a great fight. So if anybody is going to the show, send me a message on Twitter. I'll be there with Highfields Boxing and then Andy Pirro, who used to manage Umar Sadiq. So we'll be going there. And
wait. You said with Andy Pirro?
Yeah, no, Andy Pirro.
Oh, okay. So I thought you said Andy Purra.
No. That's
Boxing.
boxing social guy. Yeah. No, not him. I'll be there with Andy Pirro, who used to manage Umar Sadiq. Very nice guy. So we'll be there at the show. So happy to meet for a beer beforehand or chat at the arena. But yeah, I think it's a good trade card. I think it's sort of the Saturday night boxing that sort of the standard. It's sort of I'd say the bottom standard of acceptable TV. But I think the Jose Burton Dan Aziz fight for the British titles cracker.
Sorry, Riku. Someone just told me about Andy Lee said AJ needs Adam Booth. A few people were sending me this on Twitter.
As my mate Porker would say, go to Adam Booth.
Well, yeah. Well, I think that one did start on this show, to be honest.
Did it? Well,
did you know that?
No, actually, you know what? I think he definitely got it from your show, but he sort of emphasized that point.
I think guys in the chat, go to Adam Booth. Where did that come from? He needs to go to Adam Booth.
He's the best.
He goes to Adam Booth. That's what things saying.
It's the people that have never watched. They've just watched Adam Booth on some YouTube on Instagram videos on pads. Have no understanding of boxing. The simple answer is always go to Adam Booth.
Go to Adam Booth. It is what it is. I'm just looking at some of these other cards. I mean, when you go down to this boxer card, I'm still waiting, guys. If you've got any questions for Riku, just ask them now. Quick fire. We normally get a few in actually. But maybe you'll rant on the because I think Riku just said all the guys in the Liverpool should be executed or something. I think they've put people off there with nah. Here we go. Right. Ask Riku, do you think AJ regrets that lifetime deal, giving his latest comments moaning about Eddie? By the way, Riku, if that's a lifetime deal, I'd be fucking amazed. I'm sure there's clauses for law in that.
A lifetime deal, is there? Because the deal has to work for both sides, and it will be evaluated every so often. I think people overreact on AJ losing to Usyk, and what I mean by that is that boxing's not linear in the sense that you lose and then that's the end of the road and he should retire or something like that. The best place for him to rebuild himself is probably at Matchroom, even if whatever happens, a rematch, and then he probably needs to look at things again and see who's coming through from the US, because we're going to have that division soon, having guys like Hrgovic, Yoka, near title shots, and Bacoli, of course. So I think that's really the thing that he needs to look at. He's pretty much in control of his own destiny at this point.
Someone asked about Eubank Williams, and that's a great question.
Great fight.
Yeah,
not pay-per-view, as Eddie said on IFL, trying to slag it off and going against. I think the question was going against the Conor Benn show on the same day.
Well, they're completely big dicky in Matchroom. The same thing that they used to do to Frank Warren.
Mm-hmm.
I said, they listen. If the Zone can't get the Premier League rights or the Champions League rights, they are fucking toast. I mean, it's simple as that. I mean, you've seen the state of the matchmaking. You've seen the state of the fights, yeah, without the big platform they've got. I mean, the start that Matchroom of the Zone, it is literally the start they had in America is virtually carried over, yeah, to what they've had in the UK. You know, and it shows what I've been saying for the last 5 to 10 years, yeah, that a lot of Eddie Hearn's success in British boxing was actually down to what Sky was doing, down to the platform, down to the Premiership football, down to having Sky Sports boxing, box office ready to go. A lot of things were there for Eddie Hearn to just plug into. And unfortunately, he hasn't been able to plug into the same artillery the Zone. And at the minute, he looks actually like a fish out of water. But yeah, sorry, your thoughts on Williams? And I've got Liam Williams. I'll probably be wrong on that, but I have to go with Liam Williams. My head says Liam Williams is going to win that fight.
Yeah, my head says Liam Williams, but my heart says Chris Eubank, because I'm a casual, so I'm a fan of watching him fight. But I know he's very limited as a fighter, terrible footwork.
Yeah, struggled against Marcus Morrison. I mean, I thought he was hurt or buzzed by Marcus Morrison during points in their fight. And then you look at the job that Zach Parker, who I'm no fan of, winning and did on Marcus Morrison. I think the writing's really on the wall for Chris Eubank. I don't know why people keep picking him in fights. I just think if he can't knock Liam Williams out, when he hasn't got Williams on the floor or hurt, he's not going to be winning those rounds. He's in a really
Williams has a great engine as well, which will be problematic for Eubank. He'll come forward and throw punches, and I don't think Eubank's capable of punching going backwards. It's going to be a really good fight. I think its styles gel really well. I think it's going to be a really interesting fight.
Let's have a look here.
But those are the fights that we want to see, right? It doesn't have to be for a world title. It doesn't have to be a British fighter against a foreigner. We want to see two good British fighters facing against each other. You know, Liam Williams obviously going from Queensbury onto the Boxer platform, fighting on there. I think it's a win-win, and that's what British boxing needs at this point, because we don't have deep enough stables to have lots of good fights unless these guys are fighting against each other. It's more fragmented than ever before.
Talking about this, there was a poll done on the channel, very good friends with the Can Man, apparently. And more people voted that they want to watch Ben Algieri over Eubank Williams.
Well, it tells you about the boxing knowledge of those people.
It's bad, isn't it? I mean, no disrespect, but I mean, this channel I would consider on the M&S Waitrose side of things, and certain other places I would certainly say, what we're talking. I had to go into Aldi the other week because I had to go and look for some curry paste, and that was definitely, I mean, when you're suffering with depression, but having to walk into the and go and have a look at what's in the Aldi spice rack, it becomes one of the lowest moments of the last.
I mean, you can't find anything there. Nothing's in the same place. Every week there's different products. It's like Russian roulette when you go there. You do your shopping and you end up, deciding what you're going to eat for dinner.
Yeah, fucking stank as well in there as well. Let's be honest. You fucking smell Universal Credit a mile away. No disrespect. It is what it is. Right, let's have a look here. A lot of you guys are picking Eubank. That doesn't surprise me because people are obsessed with the guy. I think he's like, I think he's going to get beat by Korobov, got beat by Billy Joe Saunders, he got beat by George Groves. I'm going with it. I'm going to go with it. Yeah, Andrade, Rico. I'm trying to find this, but Andrade on Twitter, Andrade dressing up as the fucking bogeyman. Have you seen that on Twitter yet? Andrade in the woods dressing up as the bogeyman. Shevin, if Shevin's around, can you send me a link, Shevin, to Andrade in the woods dressing up as the bogeyman? Like, I'm not even joking. I'm going to try and find it, yeah? If you guys want to keep asking me good questions, I'll find it. But Demetrius Andrade posted a video of him for Halloween in a mask in the woods, yeah? Acting, dressing up as the bogeyman, saying that everybody's ducking him. Your thoughts?
He's a strange guy. Remember when he tweeted trying to get a fight made against, was it Canelo?
Yeah.
And he tweeted at Joe Biden, at Gwen Stefani, and somebody else.
He tweeted Joe Biden?
He tweeted at Joe Biden and Gwen Stefani, and there was somebody else they tweeted to try and get them to retweet the fight being made against him against Canelo.
Well, I wonder if that was the guy that, Joe Biden was recently talking, using the N-word.
Yes, I saw that.
Speeches, Joe Biden.
Yes, I saw that, yeah.
Joe Biden using the word Negros, on national TV. Maybe Demetrius Andrade was one of those people he was fucking talking about.
Well, somebody said to me very well that if Trump said that, God help her.
If Trump says that, it's game over. Well, it is, Riku. Our votes only count when it's election time. Our lives only matter when it's election time. Charles Martin, Luis Ortiz announced. Has anybody got proof of that? Harvey Chan's very reliable.
That's a great fight if that happens. I mean, Prince Charles reigning.
Can anybody confirm? He's saying it's Coppinger. Wow, where is Cop? The Cop just getting murdered at the minute,
I know. He'd say the Canelo against Golovkin. Stop pushing that.
Hey, you see Cop. There's a video of Cop going around, right? And he's talking about how when people give him bad information or when people give him incorrect information, he tries to punish them or he looks for ways to punish them because he doesn't like people getting over him like that. So there's a video circulated of Mike Coppinger talking some real gangster shit, yeah? Talking about how if people give him incorrect information or if people try and mislead him on stories, then he tries to punish them. This is the same Mike Coppinger who literally got knocked out by a 90-year-old cannabis-smoking old man in front of 50 people and done absolutely nothing. Sat there in his fucking turtleneck, and took it like a champ. I mean, it's bizarre. Yeah, Shevin sent me the link to Andrade. I'll show you now. But Cop, man, Riku, there's a discussion going on Twitter on which of these journalists are in the attack for Matchroom. I'll name names right now.
Coppinger definitely.
Coppinger is definitely he's on the idiot.
Well, he's also on Probellum. He's also
right,
which we know what that is. But yeah, he's also massively promoting them.
Oh my! Shevin sending me all kinds of pictures there of things that I can't see.
So we've got Mike Coppinger definitely.
Who else? I'm going to tell you one. Michael Benson.
Yeah, Michael Benson.
Michael Benson is just matching through and through. I don't care what anybody says. I know
Coogan as well. Coogan
Who?
Cassius.
Coogan.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Mitchell
I would
Joy
say
Belt.
I would rank Benson number one. Actually, no. Go on, Rico. That's wrong.
Benson just feeds information. I'd say Coppinger.
Coppinger
tries to be his job is to be objective.
Oh,
Benson just shares information, right?
Yeah, but Benson only shares things that are pro Matchroom. So
yeah.
Benson will share if there's a DAZN taking over BT rumor, right? Benson will post that in 30 seconds. But when the BT CEO came out 2 weeks ago, right, when BT did their end of year or half year results and said we haven't done a deal to sell to anybody and we're talking to multiple companies, Michael Benson somehow forgot to post that information. So if it's anything that's pro Matchroom, right, Benson will post that in 2 seconds, right? But if it's anything anti-Matchroom, all of a sudden, Michael Benson forgets his little retweet button. Carry on, Riku.
Who is Michael Benson? Nobody's ever met him.
Yes,
no.
He's legit. He's been.
But does anybody know? Like, does he ever go to boxing gyms? Does he actually cover the sport?
He's not gyms, but he's definitely a real person. There's some people who are saying he's a bot. He's definitely a real person because I know.
He's a real person, but for somebody that covers boxing, I think he covers it for TalkSport, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So I find it very strange that he's never actually producing original content or ever have any links when he fights us. It's very strange.
Well, I think the whole thing's strange, but it is what it is. I mean, look, I don't want to pile it on Benson because he's just a little kid who
he looks like he's about 12 years old.
He's a bit older now, but yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't want to pile it on the guy because he's, I've got to be careful here. But Benson is what Benson is, but definitely in the tag for Matchroom. So I'm just trying to go down. Keep going, Enrico. I'm trying to find this Andrade thing. Crap. I should have sent you a link, but I can't get it on my phone. Keep going.
Let's do a couple more questions. Let's do a couple of more questions and then wrap up.
Go
on. Let's see if there's any questions.
Chris Mannix, by the way. Whoever mentioned Chris Mannix.
Oh, yes, Chris Mannix.
He's dreadful, isn't he?
Oh, his podcast that he used to do, him and was it Sergio Mora? They used to do a podcast. He used to be so Matchroom. They were saying things like Charlo, nobody knows who the Charlo brothers are. Andrade is the biggest fight in the US and all sorts of absolute nonsense.
Chris Mannix is virtually unemployed now anyway because the zone are winding down in the US anyway, so you don't worry about that.
He needs to get back to commenting on basketball. That's his real sport, isn't it?
Yeah. What about what else are we doing here? Riku, what's the journalist that tried to tell us that Wilder Fury 3 was not wanted by any Vegas casino?
Oh, Shevin, I'm not sure the name. I remember that. That was a funny one. I think we're chatting offline about that one. Yeah. This is the kind of information that people are putting out there to please promoters. It's the only sport where sports journalists serve the promoters rather than hold them to account. It's not like in football, journalists end up backing the club's narrative and not questioning it and trying to create stuff in order to protect the manager or the club. It's the opposite. Whereas in boxing, it's like all these journalists are on the payroll.
Here we go. I'll find it. Any other questions for Riku? Riku, any other thoughts that you want to...
No, I think the main thing is really that we should be worried about the big decline in British boxing. And I think part of it's down to the 2006 Olympic class being so poor and also the lack of identification. Talent hasn't been identified by Matchroom. It has been identified by Queensberry. And, there's this sort of thing where public... is that it?
Let me play this shit. Look at this, bro. I can't believe a brother's actually fucking doing this. Do you know what I mean? Like, listen, people wondering why does Ultra always sound so angry? Because I get said shit like this on a daily basis. That's why. Hold on, let me play this shit. Hold on, this guy. Look. That is what Matchroom boxing. Fucking, can you fucking believe this shit? Matchroom boxing did this. October the 31st. That's Matchroom boxing. And people are trying to tell me that British boxing or boxing isn't going down, isn't about to blow up and go down an all-time low point.
I mean, the Jake Paul end of boxing is ever closer to the real boxing these days.
Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out. I wonder, do you know I'm blaming for this? I'm blaming Charlie Sims, because you know Charlie Sims gave that bad advice to O'Hara Davis.
Yeah.
You know Charlie Sims told O'Hara, "Yeah, O'Hara, go and send a tweet to who was it you sent that tweet to? Was it Fowler or who was which Liverpool?
It was
fighter?
Fowler. It was Fowler.
Yeah. Go and send a tweet to somebody, O'Hara, and nothing bad will come of it." And then they ditched him, right? I reckon Charlie Sims must be advising the Demetrius Andrade, because somebody's told him to get in the car, find some woods. That mask, where the fuck does that look? It says "Miss Me" on it. 1 second, someone's looking at the fucking door. Dillian Whyte. Riku, take a shot. I'm just going to answer his Dean Whyte. 1 second.
Dean Whyte's on the door. This might be the last time we see Ultra here. Maybe he's delivering some jerk chicken. Who knows? Yeah. The other funny story I always have is when Barry Hearn advised O'Hara Davis and what's he called?
Sorry about that. That was Andrade. Carry on.
I was saying the funny story I have is when Barry Hearn advised O'Hara Davis and Eric the Eagle Ochieng, and he told them they need to be more characters, and told Eric the Eagle Ochieng that he needs to buy Elvis sunglasses, and O'Hara Davis needs to dye his hair. And O'Hara Davis dyed his hair blonde, and Eric the Eagle Ochieng had those big Elvis sunglasses, and then he looked scared every time he took them off when he walked in the ring.
Barry Hearn was the one who told O'Hara Davis to get his hair dyed blonde.
Yeah, because he needed to be more like a character. He needed to be more memorable.
Christ almighty, I'm surprised Barry Hearn didn't have him dressed like one of the fucking minstrels as well.
Probably, yeah.
Got everything Barry would do, innit? You know, I tell you what, the last thing you want, if you're a fighter like that, is you want Barry Hearn giving you gimmicks. Imagine that, really. Barry Hearn giving people gimmicks.
80s snooker gimmicks.
80s snooker gimmicks, mate. Barry Hearn's the kind of guy to come up with a gimmick, called Uncle Ben, and have O'Hara Davis walk out with a bowl of rice.
Red bow tie. Yeah. O'Hara Davis walk in the ring with a red bow tie.
Red bow tie. Hey,
and a tuxedo.
Hold up. Before we go,
and instead of playing Ice, Ice Baby, they play Rice, Rice Baby.
Hey, yo. Hey. Where's the red bow tie, though? I can't see the red bow tie.
Oh, I swear it was red.
Hey.
Yeah, there.
Hey, I'll have O'Hara Davis coming to the ring looking like this, though, with a gimmick, yeah? Or Barry Hearn will tell him to come up with a box of KFC or something. Run a gimmick like that. All right, Riku. Finish up. We do last waltz.
What's the... There's that brand. I think it's a US one. It's like a black lady that's...
Aunt Jemima.
Yeah. If they sign Alicia Baumgartner, I wouldn't be surprised if Barry Hearn recommended Aunt Jemima.
That's ice cold, bro. They're going to have Baumgartner coming out looking like Barry Hearn. Mate, it is what it is. All right, Riku, final thoughts?
Right. Everybody subscribe to the channel. Keep supporting Ultra. And yeah, hope you're doing all right, mate. And we'll do this again some point next week. I can give you my feedback of the Boxer show, which is meant to be a bit different to Matchroom shows. So hopefully it's an interesting experience.
All right, then. That's it from me. All right, Riku, hopefully if we're still going, which is going to be a 50-50 after some of the content in tonight's episode, we're still up and running. I'll see you next week.
Well, I'll pay for half the legal fees when Baumgartner's lawyers get in touch.
All right, Riku.
All right, cheers.
See you next week, guys.
Take care.
See you guys.
Bye.